Hi folks, and welcome to your Gersnet immediate post-match reaction pod, coming to you in association with Forest Precision Engineering. My name's Alec Anderson and I'm speaking to you from outside Ibrox shortly after Rangers' 3-1 win over Kilmarnock in this afternoon's SPFL Premiership match. A match that sees us slash Celtic's lead at the top of the table to 6 points. We're a goal up after less than 10 minutes, 2 up after half an hour, 3 up by the break, so everything in the garden is absolutely rosy and everybody's totally content. All facetiousness aside, I think there was enough in this performance today to please or satisfy both extremes of the Rangers support. The two different ways of reacting to last Sunday has been to want to burn the whole thing down, get rid of the board, get rid of the players, get rid of the manager probably, and then there's guys like myself who were on the preview pod last night getting equally angry at the supporters for wanting to get rid of the board, get rid of the players and get rid of the manager probably. So I really enjoyed the first half. All the doubters, they really enjoyed the second half when Rangers completely took their foot off the gas, gifted Kilmarnock a goal and looked like for a few, maybe 5 or 6 minutes, maybe up to 20 minutes, that we might actually end up chucking this one away. It's not an immediate post-match reaction pod though, because I've been waiting for about half an hour to see if I can get Todd Cantwell's autograph. You can hear the kids in the background. I was in amongst them. Todd, give us your shirt. Give us a lock of your golden hair, because Todd Cantwell put in a performance today that is among the best we've seen at Ibrox this season, if not for a few years, in terms of individuals turning up exactly when they're needed. He was masterful. He was everywhere. He was like a spinning top. He was taking the ball in places that he shouldn't have been taking it, like practically his own byline. He just wanted to get the ball wherever he could get it, and he was dispensing it from every area of the park as well, including the Kilmarnock byline and deep in the Kilmarnock box. I don't know if he'll actually get assists today, but he's the reason we were 3-0 up at half time and that we won this game. He was the reason in chief, despite everybody's eyes being on the selection of Nicholas Raskin, the least surprising inclusion in a starting 11 in the history of football. After what happened at Hampden last Sunday, the reaction to it more after we just kind of piled on, and everybody's decided that was the worst decision ever made by a manager, despite our best performance of the season coming with Glenn Kamara and John Lundstrom as sitting midfielders, which is the lineup we started with last week. Those two in that position and Alfredo Morelos up front, those three were all dropped today. So you'd Raskin starting alongside Ryan Jack, and you'd Cantwell in place of Tillman. By the end of this game, you're actually thinking that not the most surprising choice last week was actually Tillman instead of Cantwell in a starting 11 at Hampden, because we were all, myself included, all really wanted Malik Tillman to be starting that game against Celtic. But in terms of the material effect on the League Cup final, it might have been not having Todd Cantwell on from the beginning. It was different level, folks. It really was tremendous, and I think far stranger than Michael Beale's decision not to pick Nicholas Raskin from the start last Sunday was the man of the match, the sponsors' man of the match today, going to Ben Davies. Now, I don't know how soon they start on the whiskey in the sponsors' lounge, maybe around about 11 o'clock this morning. Nothing against Ben Davies. We did concede a car crash of a goal in the second half, which our whole defence seemed to be at fault. I'm up the other end of the park. Alan McGregor, who didn't have a good second half, didn't seem to cover himself in glory in that one, but I can't say for sure until I've seen the pictures on television. Ben Davies might have been at the heart of that, but other than that, our defence wasn't really troubled in the first half. Ben Davies didn't have a bad game, but to give the man of the match to anybody other than Raskin today, I think the sponsors might actually have been the Davies family of Preston. Listen, we come along to the game today wondering what we're going to get as a supporter. A lot of bad feeling in the air. As soon as I heard that Raskin was in the team, I left my can of petrol and my matches outside. I won't need to affect that particular protest today, but the Union Bears did affect their particular protest. After 5 minutes of the game, they unfurled a banner saying that the board, after winning 55, had taken their eye off the ball and there needed to be change. I thought to myself, well, if you're taking your eye off the ball includes getting you to a European final, winning the Scottish Cup and getting you to the Champions League group stages over the next 2 seasons, then that's not a kind of taking the eye off the ball that's going to cost us any points, if you want to use a football analogy. I think it's the level and the viciousness, if you like, the way the dissatisfaction with last week has been expressed that's kind of annoying me and annoying a few other folk. But I think today was the perfect salve, because we didn't turn around and put in a 5-0, 6-0 win that would have had people just dismissing it as too little, too late, a kind of compensatory reaction to last week that's never going to prove in, never going to make up for it. What Rangers did today was just basically get back in the groove, just do what they've been doing under Michael Beale, which is beating everybody except Celtic. This was his 16th competitive game, and he's still only lost one match and failed to win one other. And both of them are to Celtic, so all Rangers managers are going to be judged like that. But he's doing that. He's completed the circuit of games. We go to Easter Road on Wednesday night, and that's going to be a difficult one. That is another one that could have won under severe pressure if we're not up for that. And I'm hoping the second half performance was about kind of taking a mental rest before that tricky trip on Wednesday. But Hibs were the first team Michael Beale faced competitively as Rangers manager, and he beat them. He's completed the circuit, and it's only Celtic that he's failed to beat, and the rest of Scotland is failing to beat Celtic. So we're not a million miles off, and I was quite content with that today. As I say, Raskin was in the squad, was in the starting 11, so everybody was happy. Antonio Cholak playing up front instead of Morelos today, and he had a good game. Antonio, he's not known as, or he's got a reputation as being poor off the bench, but he's just generally been poor the last few times he's appeared because he's been injured for ages, and he's obviously a guy who needs game time. He's getting into his 30s. And he did well today. He was maybe a bit rusty in the finishing, but he was part of this kind of whirlwind of pressure that he put Kilmarnock under from the word go. Their bottle crashed, ours didn't. Kilmarnock, they're a really cynical team under Derek McInnes. You're adding Derek McInnes' legacy of cynicism to Steve Clarke's legacy at Kilmarnock, despite Tommy Wright being involved in between times when they're done in the Championship. That's the way it's been going this week, isn't it? Despite Tommy Wright getting involved with them, they haven't really changed much. They have a habit of their big players like Ash Taylor, who's like a rugby league player on steroids. When they foul you, they tend to fall on top of you. They were landing on Rangers players' necks and what have you when they're on the ground. Willie Collum was a referee, and he didn't seem to notice even when John Lundstrom came on with 20 minutes to go. That didn't remind him that he sent John Lundstrom off for tripping a guy up in his own half at Easter Road towards the beginning of the season, when a Kilmarnock player just took the ankles from Ryan Kent as he piled in towards the Kilmarnock box in the second half. That was just a booking as far as Willie was concerned. But he did give us a penalty in the stroke of half time, or rather VAR did. We got the first goal because of a kind of blistering attack. And I think Cantwell had a pop, somebody else had a pop on goal, and just eventually it rebounds to Connor Goldson, who's another guy who's a favourite of the kind of haters, a guy who shouldn't be at the club anymore, blah, blah, blah. If you don't know what Connor Goldson brings to this team, then I really fear for your ability to judge football matches. He had a big tap in. It was an easy one for him, but he was in the right place at the right time because we were determined to get a goal, and that was just after the banner had been unfurled by the Union Bears, and Connor goes over to celebrate the Union Bears, and that was nice to kind of take the sting out of things. Round about the half-hour mark, in comes Fashion Sakala, and I saw this one lining up. I saw the big empty net, and where Fashion was trying to curl it in for a second, a Kilmarnock player got his foot to it, and I thought, oh no, Fashion's not going to miss this one as well, because he's been under pressure after his horror miss against Joe Hart last Sunday. But no, the Kilmarnock player just deflected it into the net, and that was great. 2-0. We get a penalty, VAR. I say giving us the penalty because Raskin had affected. He went right into the box, drove in. He was great. Ryan Jack sitting at the kind of base of your midfield, providing the kind of the base, and you've got Raskin doing enough going forward and bombing on and line breaking to satisfy most teams in Scotland. But when you add this kind of spinning top, kind of miasma of creativity that is Todd Cantwell on top of that, and the form he was in today, just nobody can live with us, and that's the way it proved. Tav slammed away the penalty, and that was great for the captain. He had a few moments in the second half giving the ball away, and the people who wanted to be on Tav's back had their moment. They had something to slag him for, but that's the captain going up there and finishing the game off basically before half time. So I was really happy for him, although at the time I was more concerned because Todd Cantwell was on the deck, injured. The physio and the doctor were out on the pitch at him. He got carried off over to the track, and I thought, typical. The way it's been going with injuries this season, a guy who puts on a performance like Cantwell has today is almost bound to get injured and be out for the rest of the season. God, there was John Souter warming up today. I was scared to applaud him because he was warming up beside John Lundstrom, and folk might think I was cheering on enemy number one. I kept a wee moments of happy clapping today, and that's no allowed now. But no, it was Cantwell was fine. Tav put away the penalty. It's 3-0 up. And that thing that we've been, not accusing, but complimenting Michael Beale of being able to turn things round at half-time. He did that today. We came out in the second half. It wasn't a case of we'd started slowly. We'd answered. That's probably our best case of starting quickly. The one thing that we've been really having a go at this team for, the one thing that cost us the game last week, where although we played much better in the second half at Hampden. We had the ball for a good 30-40 minutes. It was too little, too late. But against most teams in the league this season, it's been more than enough. They get the wee rollicking at half time, and out they come. It was the opposite today. They got the business done in the first half, and that was good to see. That's a nice wee change in the way things have been going. But the second half, we were just woeful. Alan McGregor, who did really well at Hampden last week, a couple of good saves, and it's good to see him getting a run in the team. I think our goalkeepers, the age they're at, you need to have a run in the team for them to keep up their kind of fitness. But second half, the ball was bouncing off him. It was kind of going through him from one wing to the other. And then the corner, as I say, I don't really know what happened with Kilmarnock's goal. It just, a whole lot of big guys like Kilmarnock have always got piling in there on top of an in-swinging corner, and we didn't deal with it at all. I need to see that one on television, as I say, before I can judge exactly what happened, but it wasn't pretty, and it was almost like Cantwell was finding the game so easy. Bottle crashing again. That the two or three times he started taking in the second half, he had 2 or 3 moments where he just started doing the kind of look away pass and the wee step over and things like that, a wee extra step over, a wee flick that was a bit unnecessary. He was almost starting to showboat because he was kind of bored. Well, it ended up that the team maybe took their cue from that. Kilmarnock obviously were up in their game, and they decided to kind of flood the midfield because that's where the damage had come in the first half, and it started causing us problems. But we had a goal ruled out for offside. I think it was Ryan Jack maybe put it away, but it's clearly offside towards the end of the game. Alfie comes on for a wee goal alongside Cholak. Alfredo Morelos played alongside Cholak today for maybe 10 minutes or so. So that's something that the manager is prepared to do. But everybody who was taking a bit of a slagging last week managed to get things sorted out this week. They managed to do the business this week, so I was really happy for them. And maybe this is what you need to do if you've got a game at Easter Road on Wednesday night. It's going to be really tricky. Maybe it's a bit of mental preparedness. We're taking the foot off the gas psychologically the second half and keeping that in the tank for Wednesday, because we will need it. But it's been a strange day, folks. It's been a strange week. It's not been a nice one. God, there was a 3-car crash on Crow Road just by Annisland Cross today. My way to the game, I was nearly late, and I'd also heard the news today, as a lot of you will, that the Hollywood actor Tom Sizemore died. Now, he's probably most famous for being like a second in command to the Tom Hanks character in Saving Private Ryan. But for me, he's in one of my a heist movie, the greatest heist movie of all time, Heat, Michael Mann movie starring De Niro and Pacino from the mid-90s. If you don't know it, get on it. It's certainly better than watching last night's Gersnet preview pod, in which I was kind of losing the rag with the entire Rangers support, making a complete arse myself. It's a film that means a hell of a lot to me and a lot of my pals and what have you, and Tom Sizemore is right at the heart of that. A guy who says, when he's been told that maybe he should just lead the family life, barbecues and ball games, he should maybe just get away from robbing banks and what have you, he just turns to De Niro and he says, "No, well, for me, the action is the juice. I'm in." And that's how it felt today. That's how it's felt this week. Even if times are bad, where else would you rather be than here at Ibrox? And when times are not as bad as they have been, where else would you rather be than watching the boys on the main Gersnet podcast, the main pod tomorrow night, 9:30, live on our YouTube channel. It's going to be Brian, Ross and Craig. So that's a collection of hosts. I don't know what one's actually chief host tomorrow. I'll let them fight over that, but it's going to be a great pod. The guys will go right in about this game properly, hopefully without the sound of crashing glass in the background, but that's all part of the realism, the verisimilitude, and as Tom Sizemore would say, stop talking slick.